In this video, we're going to look at two more primitive data types, the char and the Boolean. Very simple in terms of easy to understand, but extremely powerful in terms of what they can do, especially the Boolean. You're going to be using it quite a bit in your coding, but we're going to start off with the char. So what is a char? Well, char is actually short form for character, and it essentially is a data type that stores or can only store one character. So char stores only one character. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's declare it. We use char to declare a variable. I'm going to call it my char. And I'm going to assign it the value. And by the way, when we do an assignment with chars, we use the single quotes. I'm going to do the assignment of D. And let's print this out. Let's just take a look. So I'm going to do a sys out. And I'm going to do my char. And I should get a D in my console. Let's run this. Okay, that's good. So what I meant by only one character is exactly that. In fact, if I did char, my char, and I'm going to now assign it the value of, let's say, EE, okay, well, you'll notice that an error message comes up here. Okay, it says invalid character constant. That's another way of just saying you cannot store two or more values inside a char. Okay, it can only be one. In fact, when I take away that one E, I'm good. Okay, it's not an error message, but it says it's not being used. Okay, sorry, duplicate variable, never mind that. So I could actually put a 2 here, or if I really wanted to, I can just mute this out and I'm good. In fact, if I run this, I should get my E there. Okay, so I cannot store two or more characters or letters inside a char. So I'll just put what I had here, the EE. Okay, this is not possible. I want to take a little bit of an aside right now because chars, they're very, each char there is related to a number, okay, and it's called what is known as a Unicode number or Unicode character. And I'm going to go over to the web to kind of explain what I mean by this. And I have this already up. Okay, if you type into Google just Unicode, okay, you will find, this is called, Unicode. You'll find tables that give a whole bunch of characters on them and numbers. Okay, let me move this over a bit so you can see more of it. There you go. So you have all these characters, and by the way, I mean a lot. If I can continue to scroll down, there are literally thousands of characters. To be exact, there's 65,535 different types. And this is to accommodate every single, well, most of the world's languages, okay? And also special symbols that we use in English and whatnot. But essentially, what this is a way to represent letters or characters in a numerical way. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, let's do another char. And we're going to kind of represent this chart by using its Unicode character, okay? And that we're going to stick with the letter D, okay? I'm going to do my Unicode char, okay, equals, okay, again, I'm going to use a single quotes, but instead of writing in the letter D, I'm going to use the Unicode character for D, okay? So where is D in my chart here? Well, it's right here. If I click on it, okay, I have the capital letter D. Unicode number says U plus 0044. And that's exactly what you write into your Eclipse, into your IDE environment, okay? So forget the HTML code, that's for web design. Now it's not you just using the plus. I actually use a /u followed by 0044, okay? And if I sys out that, I'm just going to copy this here, paste it. I should get a D again. So I should get the first D from lines 7 and 9, and the second D should be from line 11 and 12. Let's check that out. There you go. I have two Ds, one after the other. One was put onto the page by, onto the console by the actual character on the keyboard. The other one was using the Unicode character. Now, why would you want to do this? And for the most part, yes, why would you want to do this? Because with the alphabet that we're familiar with, it's fine. But sometimes we want special characters in our work. So what can we do? Let's say we wanted to, put in another one, the @ symbol. Let's call it my @char. That's equal to /u, and let's go over here. Where's my @? Where is my @? Scroll through here. Oh, it's right by the D. Here it is. Okay, so here's my @. If I click on it, the Unicode character is 0040. So if I ever wanted that in my console, I'd go U0040, close that up. Let me just copy this, save us some time. Copy this. And let's run this. So I should get an @ symbol on the third line of my console. And indeed I do. So I have this idea of a char, which is really helpful when I want to access individual letters one at a time. The next data type I'm going to look at is known as a Boolean. And a Boolean is a variable that allows for two choices, either true or false, yes or no, 1 or 0. It's basically a binary primitive type. You only have one of two choices. And like I said earlier on, they're useful, and you will use them quite a bit when in conjunction with looping or conditional statements, branching, things of the sort, which will come up later. So what is a Boolean? Well, you declare it as such, as Boolean, and like I said, there's only two possible values. So I'm gonna name this one my true Boolean and value, and I'm gonna say true. Okay, and that's how you assign a truth value to a Boolean. It's either true or false. There's nothing else. Okay, I can't go is equal to 8. Okay, that's going to be meaningless. In fact, when you look here, it'll say type mismatch cannot convert from an int to a Boolean. In other words, 8 is an int, it's not a Boolean value. So I'm going to write true. And likewise, like I said, there's only two, so the other one has to be my false Boolean value. FALSE, and that is going to be, notice how I don't have an error technically. Okay, this is just underlining saying that it's not being used. Okay, and that obviously it's a duplicate. Sorry, not a duplicate, it's just not being used. Okay, but I don't have an error here. Although I called my variable my false Boolean value, okay, it still can be true. Okay, it doesn't exclude the possibility of that variable being false, being true, even though it has false in the name of itself. Okay, I just chose it to be false in terms of the name. So let's do that, and let's just print these out. So I'm going to print out my true Boolean value, and you won't be surprised that it really doesn't yield anything interesting. And I'll do my false. In fact, all you're going to get are the words true and false in the console. Okay, so we don't necessarily use these in terms of printing them out to the console. They're more of like for the flow of the logic of our system, okay, of our code. When we get to that, you'll see again how useful just having two simple choices can be.